Okay, so obviously I still don't understand or respect the faults in this phone because I keep making the same mistakes again and again. So now I had been talking for at least 15 minutes about the glories of life, the universe, and everything. But I started recording on my phone, put it in my pocket, and next thing I know, there's only a 13-second long recording on my phone. So obviously, I don't learn my lessons, or lesson that I've learned many times over. So I'm now carrying my phone in my hand while I hold the mic in my other hand, so I can get at least somewhat close to my mouth, so you could hear me on this blustery day. So to recap, walked over the Ward's Island Bridge. I'm now walking along a path along the East River on Randall's Island towards RFK Bridge, which I will walk over to Queens to pick up some nice books that I bought from an independent bookstore. One being Dune, which I had always wanted to read, but just never got around to it. And when I took it out of the library recently, the sheer size of it, coupled with how short the time is that they give you to read a book at the library relative to the size of that book and how much time I have, the dedication I want to put in. Long story short, I figured it was best to just buy it. I gave myself a budget around $50 for buying books. So I bought that one. I bought a book about, it was called The Catmen of Gotham, which was about how, I guess it was a bunch of men, in 1800s New York City who helped stray cats, which I thought sounded like a nice book. And the last one I got is an Obama-Biden buddy cop adventure mystery, which sounded too good to pass up. And I guess I was just still kind of high off of the Electoral College one, but why not go weird? I'm gonna burp. Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, it's a rainy, windy day here that's scared off most of the regulars, which is nice. By regulars, I mean just the people who would regularly be out. At least when it was nicer, there was always a lot of people, especially on the weekend, either walking along the Esplanade, along the East River on the Manhattan Island side, or just kind of running or biking on Randall's Island here. So it's nice and peaceful and gives me some time to walk around with my mask down a little bit, respectfully, of course. If I see someone coming, I'll put it up. It's kind of where I say excuse me and just take a little time to fix it. Ooh, there's a hawk. But yeah, I guess that kind of recaps everything. And at least everything important that I talked about. I guess the only person who will know whatever I talked about is me and whoever overheard anything I talked about. But yeah, I talked about the weather. It's rainy. Well, right now it seems like the rain has paused for a bit. It's still windy, which you probably hear. I'm walking because I don't feel like taking the subway. And I went to the farmer's market. Oh no. This is not an easy mask to pull up and down. At least when I'm holding the mic with one hand and the phone in the other hand and going up and so. But I know it doesn't sound as good when I have the mask on, so if the opportunity presents itself, I would like to pull it down, like I will now. Pulling it up again is going to be fun. Don't remember weather. Yeah, it's cold. Probably like the low 40s right now, gray skies. So not necessarily the nicest day to be out, but I'm not complaining. I've warmed up now to the point where nothing feels cold anymore. I'm walking along a path that I only discovered was the correct way to get to one side, one bridge to the other. At the time felt like a nice walking date that was the last time I ever saw her. But aside from that, it's definitely a nicer way to go. Because before I was trudging my own path, crisscrossing across the park and the island, and that just gets messy after a while, especially when there's the police station around here, and the psychiatric ward, the FD&Y training center, a little ways away. But now that I know about this path, it's not the straightest route, because you're going, around the island essentially. But it gets the job done, and it's definitely the more scenic way to go to get the water. It's always fun when you make eye contact with a dog that's walking by, and you're like, oh, I want to pet it, but then I'm not 8 anymore. Feel like a grown man asking someone to pet their dog, even if the dog shows interest, just seems a little weird. Not that I would, if I was walking a dog and so they seem nice, and maybe not in the city, I would be more open to it. But I'm not gonna try. Things are crazy enough as it is. Ooh. Now I know I pointed out this bridge, I guess really the last. No, what's that? I don't even know anymore. No, this was maybe the second to last time I did this. No, the last time I did this walk was with a friend. Second to last time was with the date. That time we went to the bridge. The last time we just walked past the bridge. But there's another bridge here, a little tiny bridge. This little marshy area here between what I guess is what might have been once 2 separate islands, Randall's and Ward's Island. The Hell Gate. I guess this. Alright, the sign here says, "Welcome to the Little Hell Gate Salt Marsh, where the land meets the sea." That's a very nice little sign. There's another person here, so I'm not going to stay too long, but I'll walk once over and once back. It's a fun bridge. Wooden walkway. Kind of weird, I'm going to be slipping and sliding. Actually, can I? Yeah, I'll just walk across this and then do the long way around, because why not? Gotta make up for lost time. All the time that my phone was in my pocket, not recording. Whew, can you hear that wind? It's a fun one out here today. So if time allows, I guess I should also explain that now that the first part of the bridge was there's the arch, and I guess was kind of the main part of the bridge, and then there's a boardwalky section that just keeps going over the marsh. I guess this is like a bridge, so you're getting 3 bridges. Well, I guess 2, kind of 3. I'll post that 13 seconds, so if you listen to that before this, and that makes no sense why I posted a 13-second clip that you could barely even hear what I'm saying. I guess it all makes sense now that I've explained it about 5 minutes ago. But it's going to be a very bridgy day. It's the Ward's Island Bridge. There's this tiny little mini Hellgate Bridge, I guess you could call it. I guess it kind of sort of is like a mini Hellgate Bridge. I don't know. never going to walk over the Hell's Gate Bridge, probably because I think it's just for trains. You'll see trains going over there. When I lived in Queens and was I'd go by the Astoria Park, which is on the East River. You'd see the trains going there. Sometimes during softball games on Randall's Island, I'd see trains going by. I do miss taking well, I guess that's a whole other story about missing commuter rail. I guess I just miss going places, but the commuter rail was nice because there you had a lot of good time to read. Yes, it was always a pain going to work. An hour in, hour back. I know that a lot of people who are now in working from home, that's probably the thing they miss the least and are happiest to give up, especially considering how expensive it is. But I do miss taking the train going places, not necessarily even back home, but like one of the earliest trips that I had to cancel because of COVID was I was going with good friend JT to down to Philly for a Pokemon Go event. Yeah, Pokemon Niantic and whoever else was involved was taking over the big park in Philadelphia that I don't remember the name of, and it was going to be fun. There's going to be Pokemon, friends, making new friends, making trades, catching Pokemon, all the good stuff. If I had told my 8-year-old self that was what I was doing when I was 26, going out in the world and catching Pokemon, I think I was a pretty cool 26-year-old. But that was one of the first things that got canceled, and fairly certain one of the first episodes of this season was the day that I was actually going back. That was the day that I first went over the Ward's Island Bridge and talked to you while what was I gonna say? Yeah, that first day for the first episode of this season when I walked over that bridge. That was the day I was supposed to go, or I was supposed to be in Philly that week, and that was a Friday that I had off from work that I kept off because I think I also had the Thursday off that I gave back because work was getting heavy. But kept that Friday. That's when I recorded that episode. How things all come together. But that was one of the first things I had to give up, and we had planned on taking Amtrak to get there. And I guess to Amtrak's credit, they were very good about canceling the reservation, probably because most everyone was canceling everything at that point. So I called, and there was a nice woman on the other end who, after I said I'd like to cancel my trip, she said, okay. Didn't try to fight me, didn't try to say, oh, you only get credits or this or whatever. Just give me my money back. And disappointing to say the least, but hopeful that I'll do a trip like that again at some point. Wow, it's definitely windy under here. I'm walking now under the RFK Bridge, Triborough Bridge. I don't even know what to call this. The big blue bridge. But that's not right. The Triborough Bridge is a bridge that goes through 3 boroughs. It starts in the Bronx, goes through Manhattan, and on to Queens. And as it's going through the Manhattan side, it goes over Randall's Island, which is where I am. And the walkway over the bridge doesn't start until you get to Randall's. So there's a point on Randall's Island where you're just walking under you can walk under the bridge where it's just cars. Now I'm on it would have been much closer if I had just gone the normal way without taking the detour. But what's life without some fun detours? And now I'm on the final approach towards the entrance to the bridge. Now, I guess from previous episodes that I've gone over this bridge, there are a couple ways you can get on. There's the main walkway, which I will be going over, and then there's a stairwell, or a staircase, I guess it's a stairwell. It's kind of welly. I'm just going to go up the regular ramp. I don't feel like taking more stairs. When I was at the office and going up and down my apartment stairs to my 4th floor walk up, I used to do lots of stairs every day. Now, not as many. Not that I miss it necessarily, but it definitely was a good workout and a good way to just get some cardio in. Even when I was at work, my office was spread out over 3 floors, and more often than not, I was on the 5th floor, and I'd often have things on the 7th floor, sometimes on the 6th floor, and did a lot of stairs going up and down, and usually tried to run them when I could, or at least hustle up them, not necessarily running or sprinting. I found that was just a good mini way to increase endurance. That's always something I'm trying to increase when I'm doing workouts, is endurance, because historically mine hasn't been great. I'm probably getting worse, especially now, but just over time endurance isn't so hot. So like running, for instance, it's always a struggle. I've never really been able to do so much long distance running. That's why I really liked racquetball, because while yes, you need to be able to go for over the course of at most an hour, maybe at most, at the very least like half hour, 45 minutes to, starting and stopping, but it's that stopping that's critical, because I guess while I don't have high endurance necessarily, I have quick turnaround time, so being able to just go all out, take 10-15 seconds, then go all out again. Yes, I'll pass out eventually, but I can give it my all for a while. Did I mention it's cold? I guess it's because I have both hands out now, where before I could at least hide one in a pocket. I don't know if the precipitation that's coming down, I think it's just coming from the bridge, even though it's coming down at an angle as if it was raining, but the show will go on still. Rain. I mentioned in the now lost not recording that I did before that this is probably at least in my memory, the second episode I've done in the elements, where most, this first season when I was walking to work, I would just take the subway if it was raining. And I don't think I've been so bold to go during this, like over the summer, to go when it was raining. And then again, it didn't really rain that much at all this summer, so didn't miss out on much there. But the only other episode I can think of where it was precipitating was that Amsterdam episode when I was interviewing my good pal Brendan, and then it started to hail, and we abandoned the bridge and the episode after that. I think he was losing interest though too, so all's well that ends well. But it's my second time really going through the elements, and it's been nice to see that it's really cleared out the people who would normally be out here. I forget if I talked about this before or after I realized I wasn't recording anymore, but I'll say it again, where it's been nice to do this walk and not have to bob and weave through traffic like I had to before. We'll see how that stands. I'm almost at the entrance now to the RFK. You'll know when I'm on there. But it's been nice having the little bit of this part of the city to myself, which is kind of fun when you think about it. The city, there's millions upon millions of people who live here, and yet here I am in a small portion where I could not have to worry about wearing my mask because there's no one around, or just spin around without hitting someone. Now I'm yawning. I don't know why. I didn't sleep well last night. I think it's because I think the heat, or at least the way that the heat works in old school New York City apartments, it's a steam heat system. So you have every room that's important has either a radiator or a large metal pipe running from floor to ceiling, and got boiling hot steam there, and that radiates throughout the apartment. And I don't know if that just dries my mouth out at night or what, but doesn't help me sleep. And as I said, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and I'm on the second bridge. Or third bridge, fourth bridge, I don't know. I don't even know anymore. And I'm probably going to record another episode after I'm done doing my Queen's Adventures when I go over a different bridge, just for the heck of it. Why not? It's the end of the season. Or so. Maybe I'm holding out hope I could do one more episode. I don't know. What's the point of, I thank you for listening up to this point. If you are, it gives me great pride knowing that I've at least kept you somewhat entertained, if not mildly amused. But it's getting to that point where I'm not going to always want to go on adventures. I will always want to go on adventures, and that's not that yearning or desire is not going to stop once I am locked in my apartment to beat the cold. But I felt like I was going to burp, but I didn't. Always a weird, unsatisfying feeling. But, and burps really take you out of the zone. But yeah, I'll see how I feel on the bridge back. Maybe I've got one more in me. We shall see. Even, with the way cases are going and the vaccines on the horizon, but probably not coming for a good while, especially for me. I'm being a pretty healthy, non-essential younger person, not a kid anymore. I'm pretty far down the line in terms of getting the vaccine, so until that happens, especially with the way that the cases are going up around the city and the country, the world over, might be from the best if I take it easy for a little while. Maybe I'll actually get into doing YouTube Pilates or something. I had that going pretty well around the time of that first episode I mentioned, and then it was later that day that after I recorded that episode that really tweaked my hip, and that put me out of good walking commission for a while. And I guess I just blamed it on the Pilates because it was something new and different. It's possible that it was. You're doing range of motion exercises, doing things I just rarely, if ever, did. It's always fun activating my core because, the core's been asleep for a long time. But maybe I'll try again, take it slow, simple, maybe stretch. I have a bad habit that goes back forever of not stretching before doing athletic exercises. And this goes back to, I guess I said forever, but I guess when I was younger, I just never saw the benefit of doing those exercises because I never got hurt. I guess it only took getting hurt to realize, maybe I should stretch. Never felt more limber after stretching. Never felt like it improved my performance. Like I would stretch with, if I was part of when I was on the tennis team, I would stretch with the team, or maybe before a racquetball match, I do some performative stretches just to show, hey, look at me, I'm stretching, woo, but not really mean it or really try real hard to stretch. But maybe now that I am getting older, I'm starting to see some gray hairs now on my sideburns, so I'm aging. I'm not going to live forever, despite my goal to do so on my bucket list to live forever. You have to learn how to stretch. I know how to stretch. I know certain certain stretches with the arms and the legs and learning new ones. Just trying to make sure that I don't have another incident like I did earlier this year, because that really was unfortunate, because I had some big plans at the beginning of COVID to do lots of big walks, marathons, and even when I was hurt, I did, to my detriment. Going to Queens and Brooklyn, and as I mentioned before, it's after a while it does tend kind of repetitive, like, oh, I'm going to Brooklyn again, I'm going to Queens again, like today I'm going to Queens again. But I guess when it comes down to it, it's, hey, if you don't live in this city, it's like, oh cool, he's going to Brooklyn again, Queens, that's awesome, and it is awesome, but it's also, I guess, a little repetitive after a while. I'm doing this is now maybe the fifth time or fourth time I've walked over this bridge. Maybe the third time with you. I did it also on that aforementioned date that didn't go anywhere aside over a bridge. But I did do a lot of bridge walking. Some of them planned, some of them not planned this year, where I just either walked with a date, that's a kind of a romantic thing. That was a good burp. Made up for not burping before. Going over walking, it's a fine COVID date activity. It's something to do while you're walking, I guess. And most people haven't walked over many of the bridges that aren't named Brooklyn Bridge. So it's definitely a good activity to do. But if you're doing the same ones, I used to walk over the Queensboro Bridge every day to go to work, but I guess that's different, like there I was walking to a specific destination, and while here while I have a destination, it's part of the destination is, like, I could have just gone on the subway today and risked that and had a good time there. I don't go on the subway that much anymore, as I guess that would be almost an adventure in itself. But part of the reason why walking is for the adventure of going over the bridge, being able to record this and talk. So like when I walked over that mini Hellgate bridge, it was kind of fun to explain poorly what the bridge looked like. Nope, hat. I'm getting near the top of the bridge now, and the wind is, as you can imagine, not any. No. That was my earbud there. The bridge is definitely, the higher up you go, the windier it gets, and I've now pulled my hat down over my brow. What was I going to say? And I guess with my head and my hats, it's always a struggle of whether they fit, don't fit, tight or not tight enough. I generally get a size 8 cap, and that's usually good once they, when they age. A fitted cap, they shrink based on the sweat, the sweatband around the bottom of the cap will shrink, and that way the hat fits better longer. And if I have more hair, like I often do, the cap will fit better. It's been maybe a month and a half, roughly, since my last haircut. So still relatively, for me, still relatively short, especially based on what it used to be. So I'm not at peak hair just yet. So I got to make sure that the hat doesn't have enough room in it to blow off in the wind, because there's, on this bridge, especially once I get to the part where there is no safety barrier. My hat might end up in the river today. I will have a very loud, sad string of thoughts if and when that happens. Though I am happy to say, though, that aside from the two guys I saw on bikes go on the bridge before I walked up, I haven't seen anyone yet. I imagine now after I say that, after I pass this post, I'm going to see a whole bunch of people biking towards me. But I guess the weather has scared people off of the bridge too. On top of, they've got a sign here: no empty tractor, because of the wind, no empty tractor trailer. Of course, as soon as I said it. But what was I going to say? I just said what was I going to say. Just that way, I never talk to them going by. They were wearing masks, and I pulled my mask up. I'm supposed to be like a good person. I try to be a good person about that. Not everyone is as nice as I am. Oh, the sun's coming out. I'm going to take a picture now, and I know that's a big risk considering my luck with doing other things while recording. Yeah. Took a picture. Maybe I'll post it on Instagram. Maybe I won't. Who knows? After a while, it's the same thing. It's the Hell's Gate Bridge. Just missed taking a picture though with the trains going by. It looks like the sun's trying to come out. Might be a nice day after all. I know the forecast called for it to stop raining around maybe like 2. But I guess this early reprieve it's nice. And I've got half an hour to get to or 20, maybe 30. Let's just say half an hour to get to the bookstore. So I'm going to start walking a little faster. I think I'm still going to make it. But making detours and walking and talking hasn't been helping me get there faster. Oh, what are they doing there? Excuse me again. Burping. It's fun. Just try it. Now from here you get a good view of the Astoria Park. It looks like, if memory serves me correctly, it looks like they've torn up whatever they tore up the playgrounds that were there in the park. And I don't know, I guess they're gonna build some new ones. I guess that's realistically one of the only options. Ooh, I can really see my breath now. I guess having your breathing in the mask maybe makes your mouth warmer. At least keeps the front of my face warm. It's always fun to see my breath. There's a plane going down towards LaGuardia. It's always fun to watch. Get some really good views. I mean, without the gate, you get some really nice views. At the expense of safety, of course. And while I love a good view, I think safety is paramount. But I wonder why they never. If I had to guess, I guess the pedestrian path on this bridge predates whatever safety laws. So that's one of the reasons why they won't turn the south lane of the Queensboro Bridge into a walkway. They're saying, we'd have to put up some safety barriers, and that would cost this many dollars. But of course here, there's a wide stretch where there's no safety barrier at all on a bridge that's arguably maybe even more dangerous than the Queensboro Bridge, believe it or not. So, I don't know, I guess you have to talk to the borough presidents or representatives or the mayor, who knows. Not even the mayor knows what the mayor's supposed to do. And I could say the governor. Most of that just comes from whatever disagreements they have over the MTA, because technically that is Cuomo's job, but Cuomo likes to push that on de Blasio, and de Blasio rightfully, rarely, on a rare case where he's right, pushes that on Cuomo. Man, I know it's windy now, but I shared a tweet on my regular Twitter. I don't even have a podcast Twitter. Maybe next season. There will be a season 3, I'm pretty sure. Maybe the final season. I don't know. We'll see. Life has a way of surprising us. But it was the Verrazano Bridge between Brooklyn and Staten Island, which I don't think I'll be able to walk across. I think that's just a vehicle bridge. But there was some pretty crazy video of the bridge shaking in the wind on a very stormy day very recently. So it's not that bad. Definitely would make me feel like the bridge was coming down. I know these bridges are designed to withstand high winds, but they're designed to withstand them by not being entirely immobile. Where the best way, they can't just be a stick in the ground and try to weather it, because they're going to blow over if they're that way. You have to be able to give some ground, so to speak. So it's crazy to watch the bridge shake. But with the knowledge that that's what it's designed to do. Now, granted, it's not rubber, or something that won't break ever. So obviously, there has to be some breaking point, but it was not reached recently. And if a bridge came down, that would be bad for bridge walkers and travelers everywhere. Should probably start walking faster. Shouldn't have taken that detour. Booking it now. As my father used to say, his father before, walk like you mean it. Never really understood that when I was a kid. Of course, I was walking, I meant it. But I think having longer legs and a better sense of the world, better understanding of the world, helps to know how to walk like you mean it. I'm on Queenside Foley now. I'm not over the water anymore. So I'm getting there, and it's not too terribly far from where the bridge lets out. I just don't want to be late because I had to schedule a time. And that makes sense. It's a small bookstore with small staff. That's why I had to wait this long. I bought these books on Black Friday. And they weren't on sale, but I wanted to support local business, not Amazon or Barnes & Noble, but who knows, Barnes & Noble probably was. If I had to make guesses about which businesses were going to survive or fail this decade, COVID throws a wrench into all those predictions, but just in general, Barnes & Noble probably not long for this world. I probably would have picked it to go out of business last decade, but we'll see. I thought GameStop was going out, but then now they have this nice fancy partnership with Microsoft, so who knows what's going to happen. Maybe Microsoft will save GameStop. Who knows? But bought those books, and because it's a small staff, that's why when they had a COVID case, their Facebook account said, so that's why it took until now for me to be able to pick the books up, and because of COVID, they have suspended in-person browsing, and they have you schedule when to pick up your books, and couldn't do it during the week, so now going on the weekend. Today's Saturday. I don't know if I ever sorry again. I'll stop. I'll try to not do that anymore. But today's Saturday. probably do the usual stuff once well, maybe not the usual. I'm not going to stop at the Greek supermarket because I don't think there's really anything I need right now. I'm there mostly. I just go and I get grape leaves, olives, pita, and while I could always use olives, I'm going to be going to Brooklyn tomorrow, so probably we'll be doing more episodes, so stay tuned. Don't touch that dial, podcast dial. But, I'm going to Brooklyn tomorrow, so I'll get better. I mean, these olives are good, don't get me wrong, straight from Greece, probably, or the surrounding Mediterranean countries. But I'll go for my known entity in Brooklyn. But yeah, aside from that, I don't really need any much else, so don't need to stop there. I'm also, I don't know if this is going to affect how I spend money, but I'm keeping track of everything I spend now for this month. I've done this a couple of times in the past. I have a Google Doc where I have my budget, or sample budget, where it has how much I make, expenses, taxes, whatever, but mostly that's all hypothetical. But there have been a couple times, I think once in if I remember correctly, July 2017 and March 2019, I kept track of every single thing I purchased, bought, spent money on, to create better estimates of what should be in my budget. Maybe I spend more money on going out than I had in there, or maybe laundry really takes it out of my budget. Just going through, it was not necessarily terribly tedious. I have the Google Excel or the Google Sheets app on my phone, so even if I don't have to save receipts or anything like that, I could just right after I make a purchase, I can make an update in my phone and it'll show up on the computer, which is always nice. But I'm keeping track this month because I created a separate tab in that spreadsheet for quarantine. So obviously my spending habits are different now. I'm not going to the laundromat as often, or I'm spending more money on groceries than on eating out at restaurants. So this is the first time I've done this experiment while in quarantine, but I'm always wondering if, I guess I should be wary that whatever I'm spending money while also keeping in mind I have to record this later, so maybe I won't spend the money now. Maybe it would be better to just go through my credit card statement and pull out everything, extrapolate it all in one day at the end of the month rather than keeping track of it day by day. But that doesn't necessarily take into account cash payments, and I could always just keep track of how often I take money out of my bank account. Put my mask on like a good human being, not like this person. But what was I gonna say? The guy was just scooting along on his scooter. Everyone just sounds a lot less threatening if they're scooting. And he had some fun face tattoos, which I never understood. I mean, I guess I do. What better place to put whatever means a lot to you front and center on your face? Not my stuff. I mean, obviously, I don't have any tattoos. I wouldn't be able to think of something that I'd want for the rest of my life on my body. I'm always going back and forth about whether I've changed that much since, I've started high school. Yes, of course, I'm a different person. I'm smarter. I understand how the world works better. But deep down, I'm kind of still the same person. I'm still playing Pokemon. That's about as consistent as it gets. But yeah, never really understood face tattoos because I guess Maybe you ran out of room everywhere else, and the face is all that's left. That must hurt. Needles in the face. Yeah. But I don't remember what I was talking. Olives, dials. I don't remember. I think today's an empanada day. I don't think I've gotten them in a while. Maybe I'll just get one or two. Eat them standing up. It's wet. There's not really a good place to eat them, so. But I want them. They are usually crowded though, so we'll see if it's too crowded. I'll pass. Someone just biked around me. Technically, on this bridge, you're not supposed to be riding a bike. They say you're supposed to walk them. So, given how narrow the walkway is on this bridge, but people still do, and it's still annoying. Especially because there's barely any room to pass anyone. But with that, I'm basically at the end of the bridge, so I'm gonna cut this conversation off. I guess not cut it off. It's winding down already. So, bringing it to a close, I'll just say that. As always, it's been fun. And you haven't heard the last of me yet. So, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. A good day. And I don't know if I got good night in there because I hit pause right before I think I said it. So, good night.